Yeah, I think there was some prejudices between them, some of them. I can remember several black people accusing me of thinking I was better than them. Well, I don't remember acting like that. You know, undoubtedly when you're a kid, you probably did act like that. You know, I didn't know that's what I was acting like, but I was accused of that, so.
Can you have any other childhood experiences where you might encounter some difficulties because of your color of your skin?
Well, it seemed like that happened all the time. Just like, here's one I laugh about quite a bit. When we used to go to shows, they wouldn't let you sit downstairs. They'd make you go up in the balcony. But little did they know, and of course I didn't realize it at the time. I know what it was. Because you was colored, you had to say you can't sit down there because you're white. I mean, that's about all I knew about it. But when you become grown, you would say such things as, why did you get mad at setting up in the balcony when it's the best seat in the house? They didn't realize that's what they was doing, putting you in the best seat of the house. From the balcony, when you watch a movie, that's the best seat in the house. So that's where we were at, up in the balcony. But yet we were complaining about it. But when you look back on it as grown and you think, well, that was the best seat in the house. You know, after you go to movies and experience people stand up in front of you and so forth and so on, where you can't see the movie, that didn't happen in the balcony. If they stood up, you could still see the movie. Yeah, so there's things like that. We lived in a place in a mixed neighborhood all my life. I was raised up out there by Gant Stadium. It was in 1940 they built that stadium, so Mr. Gant gave it to him probably in 38 around there somewhere. Gave it to the city to build a park there. But before that, it was known as Gant's Park, say. And we grew up around there. Now, this is where everything happened. They built that stadium in 1940. In 1941, Chicago Cubs had a minor league baseball team there. And they were there a few years, and then the Cleveland Indians had a minor league baseball team there. And they were a few years, and then the Los Angeles, well, it was called Brooklyn Dodgers. Brooklyn Dodgers had a farm team there, and they was the last ones to be there, and they left in 49. But I said all that to say this: in them days, that's where everything was happening. It was not uncommon to see 2,000 people out to see a baseball game. So hence, as kids, we parked cars in our yards. We cleaned the stadium up after the game. We found money in the stadium, and we got paid a certain amount of money for cleaning it up. And then we made money for parking the cars around the place. And in them days, there'd be busloads of people come out there, and there were just things we done as kids that we made money. And I think that they looked at it as being in the servant role. Now, you know, I really can't say there's something prejudiced about that, but all I know is when I was 6 and 7 years old, I was making my own money. And so you think to yourself, think back on them things, you say, my goodness, what was prejudiced about that? But we was, you know, them kind of things run across your mind sometimes. Always having your own money. At 5 and 6 years old, now see, people probably wouldn't believe that in 1945, 46, but we did. I said to my son one time, I said, you know, I don't remember asking my mother and father for money. Now, undoubtedly I did, but I don't remember that. And he said, well, why didn't you? I said, well, I always made my own money. He said, you mean to tell me when you was 5 and 6? I said, yes, I was. I was parking cars in our yard. All the neighbors right there parked cars in their yard. And I mean, that people don't think how much that encountered when they had them kind of that many people out there watching a baseball game. Because they'd come out there and you know, 2,000 people. And then Zanesville High School played the football games out there, and that was anywhere from 7 to 8 to 10,000 people come out there. So we were always, you know, I mixed in with them. I thought I was one of them. You know, I don't remember encountering things racial thrown at me in them days. I just done what I want to make my money, that's all. And so did they, you know. So, I can't speak too much of that kind of stuff. That didn't happen to me all that often. My grandfather come from Chesterhill and moved to Zanesville. He moved in a white neighborhood. So there my dad and them was up in a white neighborhood. Where his brothers were, because he was on his own when he come there. My dad come to Zanesville in 1919. His mom and dad come up there in 1920. And of course there was 3 other boys. They were all younger than Dad. So they all lived in a white neighborhood. Now, how about that?
And your neighborhood was a mixed?
Mixed, yeah.
And did your father come to Zanesville? Why did your father come to Zanesville?
Well, my father came to Zanesville. Now, I want to say this. I don't know whether this is entirely true or not. My father was into music very young in his life. And some white man in Chesterhill taught him how to read music and play it. And he got pretty good at this. And I think he thought down there he wasn't going to get nowhere doing that. So he moved to Zanesville, Ohio, which I suppose in them days was a big thing to move to Zanesville. So he moved up there, and then later on, a year later, Grandpa and Grandma come up here, sold the farm and come up here. My dad played in the band from the time he was 15 years old to the time he retired. He retired when he was 62, and that's when he quit playing music too, when he was 62. Now, I had a cousin tell me that they played at a certain place. Now, I played in the band a little bit, but I never played like this. My cousin played with them, and they played at this one certain place for 3 years, 6 days a week, 6 hours a day. And my dad missed one day of playing because he had the flu. Now, that doesn't mean too much to people that don't play music. But I never did get to that status. I think I played 3 days a week and was 4 hours a night. That's about the most I played. And incidentally, my father took a job that was compatible with his music because he had chances to get pretty good jobs, like Armaco Steel and Lime Material back in them days was good places to work, good paying jobs anyhow. But he refused to take those kind of jobs because he wanted to play his music. And the only reason why he didn't go big time is because he had a big family. He wouldn't leave the family. And this is something that he said, we got to talk to him about. Why didn't you go big time music? They was after him. He went to Cleveland for a while. And they was ready to take off on a tour across the United States, and he chose to come home instead of go on this tour. So that was Byron Myers.
That was what?
That was Byron Myers, my father.
Byron, okay.
He worked at the Masonic Temple, and in them days, everybody important in the county's office was in the Masonic Temple. He knew all the lawyers. He knew all the judges. They were all right there in this Masonic Temple. And they thought the world of my dad. I can remember as kids going over there. He would introduce us or take us to some of these people's offices, and they thought the world of him. And he ended up being the head maintenance man of it anyhow. But this job that he had was compatible for him to play music. And I think that's why he done that.
Did he teach you, the children, how to play?
No.
How did you learn?
He had 2 older brothers of mine claimed that they wanted to learn how to play. So there's a cousin of ours named Waldo Simpson that played in the band with Dad. And so Dad sent them to Waldo to teach them how to play. And they got so they wouldn't go. They went elsewhere instead of going. And Dad found that out. So I don't know whether that was a decision, whether it's not to teach the boys to play or have them learn how to play anymore after that, but I'm the only one. And I can remember in grade school, I sang in the choirs, and junior high school and sang in the choirs. I was always interested in the bass voice, but my voice wasn't low enough to sing that. So after I got married, my brother-in-law played in the band. And so he taught me how to play basics, how I play bass guitar. And that's how I learned how to play that. I just picked that up and done it for 35 years playing in band.
What's your brother-in-law's name?
Harry Lett.
Harry Lett.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does Harry, who in your family still plays music?
I got a nephew named Emery Myers that still plays. Now, Emery was, when I got to the place where I got my own bands, Emery was 14 years old when he started playing with me. And of course, I had to be responsible for him. Now, his dad, which is my second oldest brother, we were the closest out of all of us, he knew I'd take care of him without having to say something like that to me. But his mother, she was a male from down there on Mail Ridge, she said, I'll let him play, Paul, if you take care of him, don't let him get in no trouble. So, yeah, he still plays today.
Do you still play today?
No, I don't play out in the public. I play right there in the house a little bit, but I don't play out in the public no more. My hands won't let me play like that no more. 20 minutes or 25 minutes, they start getting cramps in them and all out there, and that lets you know now. You got to do this every day, or you don't do it. So every once in a while, I get in the jam session and we'll play. A lot of times, we're out to Anita's house, and you probably need to come to that sometime. We'll get together and have a big jam session. A guy like my nephew and my cousin Wilbur Norman, we all get together and play for 2 or 3 hours.
Tell me about your genealogy research. Who did you research on your own, Paul, or did you research with someone else?
When we started this genealogy research, I got a brother next to me named Gordon Myers. He's the one that got started on this. And unbeknownst at the time, my brother Emery Myers, Pete they call him, Pete Myers, he was interested in that too. And so was I. So after a couple years of Gordon doing this, we jumped on the bandwagon. Now, we didn't have access to computers and all that back then. We done a lot of running around. We done a lot of visiting and going to courthouses, and that's how we accumulated what we know, say. And that probably took us 15, 20 years to find out all that we know about that. Now you can do it in 5 minutes, I think. And during those times, I had a great time doing that. I just love it. We're just getting done with this reunion. And the biggest thing I can say I love about this is I see these young folks getting interested in this. Because we're going to have to pass the torch on, and they need to know.
What were some of the things you found out in your research that really surprised you?
Well, I'll talk about my Uncle Nate, Nathan Myers. He was the baby boy in the family. I found out that Nate, when I went up there to visit them people, some of them people knew Nathan Myers up there in Remus, that old settlers reunion. They knew him. When they found out we were a relation to him, they'd tell you certain things about it. You know, Nate's the one that built all the pews in our church. Really? Yeah. I've had people down in the Chesterhill area talk about Nathan Myers.